Good morning and or afternoon. Welcome. Sorry again to episode 110 of the Unifying Force. Yes.
Yeah. Welcome everybody. Yep. Good morning, good afternoon, good day. If you're taking this in live or seeing us on demand a bit later on YouTube and Facebook
And welcome
wherever.
back for after an extended hiatus. That fifth Sunday in a month makes it feels like it's been a super long time since we've been here together.
Yeah, it's been a little minute. A lot's been happening, and well, at least us in the UK, we're on schedule again. Our clocks move forward. We spring forward.
You're back to the same relative time as
the consistent 5-hour gap from the East Coast that we know, or 8 hours from Pacific.
Well, I am still completely messed up because, as you know, over our extended hiatus, I took a trip to Alaska, which is 4 hours behind my normal time zone.
Right.
And not only was it 4 hours behind my normal time zone, we went to Alaska to view the Aurora Borealis. And
amazing.
So that happens between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. their time. Messed up.
So you're kind of double jet lagged from the daytime difference.
So it was it was almost the equivalent of the jet lag from Japan.
Oh, yeah, pretty heavy. Did you get to see?
Oh, we did. We saw the auroras.
That's what
we were there for a week. We saw them 3 nights, I think, in a row. Wow. There was some cloud cover some of the other nights, but yeah, they were intense. It's something about being in the location where you're expecting to see the northern lights. It's like, the dim little thing on the northern horizon, like you would see from the States or whatever. But no, they're not on the northern horizon because you're that far north. They're straight up. They're everywhere.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did you have to take a boat out to see them, or can you see them?
No, we were staying at a resort that's about 50, 60 miles outside of the city of Fairbanks. So it's the only thing out there. And then, it's pretty dark sky. And then for aurora viewing trips, they'll take you on a snowcat up this mountain, another 2-3 miles away. So yeah, it's dark. You can see many stars. I think if it hadn't been nights where there were the full moon, I think we could have seen the Milky Way.
Wow.
But yeah.
That's an incredible experience.
It really was. I mean, the only thing missing was would have been to take some lightsabers and have a battle in the snow. I think all the rest of the guests would have looked at us like, what?
What? But then also, can I get one?
Exactly.
Can I have a go? Yeah. I mean, it reminds me, actually, this is super nerdy, but of that amazing Andor arc on Aldani, where they do see the spectacular, their equivalent of almost an Aurora Borealis. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most standout images that comes to mind, I think, if you can remember back to that middle part of Andor season 1.
I do remember that. That's
So that's that's a bucket list thing for sure for many of us.
I
Definitely me
highly
included.
recommend to anyone available to do that at some point is get to some sort of northern latitude. I enjoyed the city of Fairbanks, and where we were was a place called Chena.
Okay.
And it was is really nice, but I hear really good things about other places like Yellowknife and uh, some smaller towns and stuff further north in Alaska. Uh, it's and I think it's for those of you who are like going bucket list. I think it's bucket list and then bucket list again, because the first thing we want to do is go back and visit in different seasons so we can do different things and visit other parts of Alaska, because you know just in a like a 100-mile radius of the city of Fairbanks is all we were, um and that's just the tiniest portion of Alaska.
Oh, what other things did you enjoy doing, or do you want to go back and do?
Oh, well, so we want to go back and visit the summertime,
Mhm.
where you can see it greened up and all the things. To be able to go further south from Fairbanks and see Denali National Park.
Mhm.
Much of that is closed in the wintertime for the snow.
Oh, I see.
um, a lot of other things to be able to see the wildlife, like it. I think it's Brooks or somewhere is to be able to see grizzly bears.
Ooh, yeah, that would be cool.
Is they're all hibernating in the time that we're there. We did see just an insane number of moose. Um, we were late in the season. Is apparently there's like a reindeer petting zoo in North Pole,
Oh,
Alaska, but it closed like the day before we got there, just for the season.
hmm.
So many other things.
Lots of fun Alaskan adventures await then.
Indeed.
Um, but
And then, of
yeah,
course, the southern coastal part of Alaska. We were in the interior, but seeing like coastal Alaska is a whole other thing.
yeah, that's the bit that you kind of, well, I think on the surface of it, when you think of Alaska, it doesn't come to mind immediately. You think of the
Mm,
coastline and stuff. You kind of think of all the more polar and North Pole bound kind of things to do and things to
yeah.
see. Um,
But
but
yeah,
yeah,
it was super fun trip. I recommend highly if anyone, wants recommendations, tips, tricks on outfitters and places to go. Bayless, let us know.
yeah, for sure. I'm gonna need to take some notes as well from you. Because yeah, I've always thought mountains, even though the UK doesn't have much compared to North America, we got a few good ones.
What's the
Um,
tallest mountain in the UK?
it's in the UK. I know the tallest one in England. um, no, it's the one in Scotland, Ben Nevis. It's in the Scottish Highlands near Fort William. That is anything that rings a bell, kind of historical
Yeah.
place. And yeah, that one is 1,300 and something meters. Um,
Okay.
it's like
When you yeah.
4,500 feet, I think,
Hmm.
ish.
Yeah.
Um, which is really substantial, but
Well,
it's
yeah, because in the UK that's coming from sea level to that. So it
yeah,
literally is that, like, where our mountains are much taller, but the valley floor or whatever is so much taller, exactly.
yeah.
Um
You're already kind
but
of on some kind of elevation
well,
compared to.
like a nickname of mine at one point is or my namesake is the mountain Tiwanaut in the Rockies in the Jackson Hole range, whereas
Oh,
Tiwanaut is over 12,000 feet, but the valley floor is over 6,000.
I see. Yeah. So the
So
difference isn't as stark
yeah, yeah.
as maybe it would be. Yeah. Um, I've not been to Ben Nevis. I need to explore Scotland with urgency. I hope they don't leave the UK. That's another story.
Yeah, all the things. Like the movie is the Scotsman, the man who went up a hill and came down a mountain. You ever heard of that?
I have not. I feel like I should have. Um,
Uh, yeah,
is
there
that
was
is that a documentary?
no. It's here. It is the Englishman who went up a hill but came down a mountain. Um,
Oh,
this is here. Here we go. I'll read you the IMDb blurb. During
sure,
their
please.
days of World War One, a small Welsh town relies on its local mountain as a source of pride. When two English cartographers, played by Hugh Grant and Ian McNeice, arrive to measure the mountain, they discover the landmark is 16 feet short of the official English declaration of a mountain classification. Disheartened that their mountain has been deemed a hill, the townsfolk devise a plan to make up those 16 feet.
That sounds really fun. I
Yeah.
would be so disheartened too. 16 feet lower, no longer a mountain.
Yes.
Outrageous. Uh, um,
But
yeah,
anyway, I recommend. That's a fun watch. That's an obscure movie from 1995.
I will add it to the little list that just keeps on growing
Indeed.
of small and medium-sized and big films
But yeah,
still to see.
is but yeah, enough of the digression. We're here today to really kind of talk Maul Shadow Lord. Is I am anxiously anticipating a new drop of 2 more episodes. I think they drop at midnight tonight, so I think I could technically like stay up and see them, but I don't know that I will.
Mm.
But first 2 episodes, wow, some
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, I like them a lot. I think it strikes a really nice balance in tone. First of all, I have to say the marketing for this has been excellent. I don't tend to watch like the little TV spots and clips because I'd rather
Uh-huh.
not have that revealed before I see it. But the trailer, I think, was one of the most fun theatrical, if you can call it.
Mm.
The one that was like near 2 minutes. One of the most fun and action-packed, but still without revealing too much story trailers in a long time. And I mean that compared to the blockbuster films that are coming out this year, because it kind of dropped in that same week that had June Part 3, the trailer coming out,
Oh yeah.
Spider-Man Brand New Day, and this, and also what we've seen of The Mandalorian and Grogu. But Maul Shadowlord looked really fun and really high quality, almost on that cinematic level,
Yeah.
which was really, I think, pleasing to all Star Wars fans and all people who followed Darth Maul through his various ups and downs. um, and I also had a suspicion, though, that this series would be written in a way that doesn't mean you have to have digested all the Darth Maul
Yes.
episodes and every
You
single bit of
yes.
story so far. You can kind of, if you accept the almost impossible that he did survive in Phantom Menace,
Well,
and
even
kept
if you don't, I don't
top
think in
half.
these first 2 episodes at least, they haven't alluded to so much of his backstory. Even it's just like, oh, here's this character. His name is Maul. This is what he's done. Accept it.
Yeah,
Um, they're not talking about, at least yet, but it looks like they're going that way. His background as a Sith Lord and stuff. The only person who really mentions anything about his backstory is him.
yeah,
He's alluding to the wrongs done to him by Sidious and various others. But it doesn't appear that the galaxy at large knows who he is.
yeah, which is quite interesting because he had a huge role in the Clone Wars, but if you think back to it, it was pretty much just on Mandalore that his Shadow Collective got working a lot. He did
Right.
unite different crime factions, which we can talk about in a bit,
Yeah.
but uh, it's amazing actually when you think of the Clone Wars being this vast galaxy-wide conflict, and yet there are so many small regions in which they had their own kind of isolated theaters of war, and did not. They might have wider effects on the outcome. That like the outcome of that war over a planet or a region would have larger effects on
Well, see, here's
that
my
galaxy,
level
the Jedi.
of here's my level of how to digest that.
Mm.
Is think about World War II. Okay.
Yes.
So in World War II, it's World War II. The worlds are at war, but the theaters of battle are confined largely to, you know, Europe, obviously, North Africa, and Asia.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you lived in South America, what do you know
Yeah.
about World War II? You know what you probably hear that it's going on, but at that point we're not such a it's way pre internet generation. It's not. Yes, there would be newsreels and things like that, but in World War II, you're still not where everyone in every home has a television set. Is you have to go to the cinema, you go to the theater, and you see a newsreel before the movies. So I'm thinking large parts of South America, whether your country happened to send troops or not, maybe they did. I think Australia might have been a little bit more in it because there were Australian troops fighting. But
Yeah.
If you're in a remote village in Chile, what do you know? It's that kind of
Yeah.
thing. If you're on a planet that's unaffected, that the empire didn't try and come seize your resources or whatever, is what do you know about the Clone Wars? Not a
Mm.
lot. That's
Yeah.
my take. That's how I'm thinking of
Yeah.
it.
No, definitely. That's why I deliberately chose that term theater of war, because to me, I mean, the first time I came across it was looking at World War II history and being able to see these almost kind of isolated um, regions that were locked in war between the Axis and the Allies, but they again were quite discrete. They weren't sort of contiguous along a massive stretch of land that would, cover an entire
Yeah.
continent. And I think Star Wars also has this kind of technological aspect where it's a little retro future because they
Hmm.
have the HoloNet, which you assume is like broadband internet, everyone has it.
Yeah.
But you'll still get planets that are kind of described as backwater planets that are very remote, that won't have that access for whatever reason. In the same way that you described, say, South America, Latin America might have been more distant from World War II because at that time, what would you have had? Just radio broadcasts, some printed
I would
news.
think so. Radio broadcast and newsreels just shown in movie theaters. And I don't
Yeah.
know enough to know how how current in technology a lot of countries were. I assume in like major cities you would have had big cinemas, but I also assume that like many parts of the US is there is a lot of rural
Mm.
population still going on in South and Latin America that would not have had as much access to the information that the major cities would have had.
Yeah, I mean, it almost goes back to us talking briefly about Alaska and the Scottish Highlands. You could be
Exactly.
on a remote rural place, and yeah, until you mentioned cinemas, I was like, what kind of newsreels? Are you thinking of printed ones? But yeah, what you mentioned is, of course,
Yeah,
something a way people
they
digested
would
news
have
back
just
then.
played the cut together news of the week or whatever before the cartoon and before the feature.
Mm. Um, it's a different era of advertising, I guess. But yeah, that could definitely be the situation if we bring it back to more Shadow Lord, that you do have uh, not widely disseminated stories about aspects of the Clone Wars if the planet or the region wasn't directly involved in it. And because Darth Maul's storyline in the Clone Wars was pretty much one planet focused, he manipulated and united some different crime factions, but it was more or less in one geographical place. So that's how is able to be Shadow Lord. He is operating from the darkness. He's not a well-known menace to the galaxy, at least not yet. But maybe we'll see that scale expand a little bit as we've got a few more episodes coming. One thing I think is really great and quite different, and it's something that, looking back at different storylines in the Clone Wars with Darth Maul, we only saw him ignite the double-edged lightsaber that he's obviously iconically introduced to Star Wars and pop culture in the Siege of Mandalore when he confronts Ahsoka, or actually Ahsoka confronts him. Before that, he's relegated to just a single lightsaber when he has his legs restored.
Yeah,
and because of that, he I always thought that he was very underpowered, and that was probably deliberate because they're trying to build more back up from the depths of despair and literally being in the depths of trash on a junkyard planet where he's first found. But they do have, maybe they've always had this. That's why I remember coming across a video interview with Sam Witwer and Dave Filoni.
Yes, exactly. Make Solo 2 happen. We're talking about like the revival of the Legend of Darth Maul, and everything that's going on is let's get a little bit more love for the backstory of Han Solo, which ironically really probably could intersect with what we're talking about, right? Is Solo and working for Jabba, and where we left off in Solo 1, him going to do these work for the criminal underworld, is a roughly kind of same time kind of thing as when Maul would have been in the Shadow Collective. So this goes well. Maul Shadow Lord goes well in animation. Let's get back to some live action, Darth Maul.
Yeah, it could definitely work. And I think Solo was kind of a sleeper hit for like a pop culture kind of hit for Star Wars fans, just the ones that stuck with the Star Wars films at that time, because it came at a slightly awkward time for Disney.
Well, it was a really it was a rough time, because this one was so review bombed, I think.
I think some of the more negative aspects of some circles online made their efforts seem to have affected some of the film, definitely with Solo. And also it was caught in the absolute wake of the biggest film of the 2010s, which was Avengers Infinity War. And both being Disney properties, that was really silly on Disney's part, because they should have made Solo another Christmas movie for Star Wars rather than also launching in May. And I think that's also why.
Here's your question right there: who would play Solo? It's been too long, I think, really, for it's been too long for Alden to take over again, unless you use some de-aging technology. He's not, so far gone old enough to where the de-aging technology didn't exactly work like we had in the last Indiana Jones, where it's like, yes, it's young Indiana Jones's face, but you can see him moving like old man Harrison.
You have to get the gait right for the aging.
So, I mean, technically, with that amount of technology that we have, you could probably have Alden back, and that would work. Cast another actor. I enjoyed it when they cast him, and I thought he did a nice job. So find someone age appropriate and go it. And no, I do not believe that all live action projects are over after Mando. Not in the slightest. I think that we will see that Mandalorian and Grogu, and we'll talk more about this as it comes up, because it's coming up fast. We'll talk more about this on another episode of the show. I really hope to and think that seeing Star Wars in live action on the big screen again is going to reinvigorate the desire to have live action. If you are a fan, if you watch our other content on the Thursday night watch along, we had the Mandalorian, the gunslinger himself, Brendan Wayne, on, And one of the biggest things he talked about the new movie is seeing it in that aspect, seeing it on the big screen, and how it affected even him, who essentially lived it, seeing it in that. So I
Yeah.
really think that seeing Star Wars return to the big screen in a new property, um, what is this, for the first time since Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah.
Uh,
It's
it,
nearly
I
six and a
think
half years.
I
Yeah, from
think
December
we'll
2019 to
uh,
May 2026.
yeah, I think and hope that that's really gonna reinvigorate the a lot of desire to do that sort of thing with the franchise. I want to see Rogue Squadron come back. Dang it.
Mhm.
I want to
Yeah,
see
that would be
the
good.
Dawn of the Jedi movie. So get all of those things.
Yeah.
Um,
Nope.
yeah, Ahsoka and Starfighter are filmed. They no, in no way, shape, or form. I'll tell you right now that Dave Filoni will like get in a fist fight to air Ahsoka. Right, that's his baby.
Yeah.
He as you know, maybe there are money people ahead of him, but as chief creative or whatever, there will be
Mhm.
fist fights to air Ahsoka. That sort of thing is going to be out there. Even if Mando bombs, I mean, yes, we'll go back to the small screen. But oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that you're saying this is the internet says a lot of things that
Yeah.
that Mando, man, no, I cannot believe that Mando will have the lowest opening weekend. Now, what I can believe is that they will interpret it as a bad thing and as a low opening weekend, because as we have seen and we have talked about many times on this show, the studios are putting way too much of a percentage of budget in advertising, and when they don't make that back in quadruplicate, they complain about it. And I know that they're putting a lot into this, because you see the trailer in a lot of places. You saw the giant Super Bowl stunt, which I'm sure that they're going to take the budget for that and tack it
Yeah.
right on to how much this movie cost.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't think that I don't think it will be that low. I think there are enough diehard Star Wars people that are going to go see this. Whether they admit to their friends that they can't, I'm diehard original trilogy. It's like, oh, Mandalorian. That's, it started out amazing. Is there were issues, there
Yeah.
were pieces, there were parts, but um, and then I will be extraordinarily interested to know how much of the baby Grogu, the baby Yoda crowd, the just casual Star Wars that loves the cuteness, is gonna like bring out the normies, right? Uh, it's gonna be
Yeah.
interesting.
I think it also might live on longer because of the impact, just pop culture wise, that Grogu, Baby Yoda, the child, has had. You know, just in like memes and GIFs that have been shared by people who don't really follow everything Star Wars or just have a very passing um, understanding or recognition of some characters.
Yeah,
And so even if it doesn't, um, do really well at the box office in kind of blockbuster numbers that they want, I think it will live on in pop culture longer than the average film. So let's say a lot of films nowadays are having far too short a runtime in cinemas, sometimes only 6 weeks, and then a month and a bit later they're available to stream. I
let's
think
get a Cat's comment here real quickly, because Cat is there in the chats. Cat's unable to be with us on screen due to traveling this a weekend. But yeah, no, they're not scrapping Starfighter. It's not part of the Mandiverse. It's something completely separate out there. They've got a big budgety star. It's Ken. Um, and it's not part of the Mandoverse. And yeah, is Filoni as co-president is not canceling Ahsoka. He will beat on people, and it's in post. They're not gonna. I cannot see in any way, shape, or form them doing the well, let's just scrap this and write it off our taxes. No. And then apparently, because people have like learned, at least Warner, I think, has learned because Coyote versus Acme or whatever is back that they initially did that to, and they've paid money back to get that back out of it. Yeah, 416 million.
I don't trust that number.
But that's still ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous that this is the levels of budgetary that we're trying to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems quite often some films are being thrown 120, 150 million on the marketing, which if you don't choose the right channels and you don't time it with the right audiences, ends up completely going down the drain.
Yeah, break even point, then you add the marketing, all the things it's not the way it used to be, which is, theaters are going to say, well, this movie cost like 17 million to make, which I think that's reasonable. The whole $416 million budget. It's like, how about y'all get your shit together and make a reasonable budget for a reasonably, made film? Like, don't just throw all the money in the world at it. Like, we constantly see classic filmmakers, Spielberg, Lucas, talking about how much they had to finance themselves, how much they had to scrape and beg and plead to get these money out of the studios. And now studios are just throwing huge amounts of money out there and expecting to get that back in quadruplicate, and it's not successful if it's not. It's not. And you also think, if you are a fan of, and I am and highly recommend, like the behind the scenes, the movies that made us and all those little documentaries, a lot of times those financial hardships and those issues with not having the budget to do the thing that you wanted to do made the movies better. Right? Spielberg, I'll talk Jaws all day long. We did an entire show on Jaws.
Mm-hmm.
This worked because he wasn't able to have the bazillions of dollars to, get the shark, to get it right, to go on longer and keep filming. He had to film on days when the shark didn't work. The shark didn't appear in much of the movie, and you had to do other little filmmaking tricks to make it more, and it made the movie more suspenseful.
Yeah. Sometimes when you work around these things, you end up being quite novel and being quite creative with how you navigate these real world issues to create the best narrative story you can. And Jaws is probably the most famous and best example of that. But sometimes less is more, and the more you show visually and let the visual storytelling do the work, and the less you tell people. I think the show don't tell thing not only applies to simple good storytelling, but also applies to marketing now. Don't keep telling us we need to go see this. Let the IP do the work, trust the characters. And I think someone like Dave Filoni, like you're saying, being top of the creative tree in Lucasfilm, understands that. And Jon Favreau being in charge of this film also makes sense, because he's worked in independent film. He's acted in independent film as well. He's self-financed things in the way that people like George Lucas and Spielberg did before.
And have trust in the man that created the MCU.
That was my next point. We're on the same
wavelength. The most beloved new Christmas film of all time, right?
Yeah.
The old classic ones, there's that, but the new era beloved Christmas film, that's Favreau. And he took a good shot at one of the better Disney live action remakes.
He took a great shot, and I think it was a full swing with no miss, because the Jungle Book live live action. CG
Yeah.
reimagining was a really good reimagining. It had many different elements to it, from the original animated 1960s Disney classic, and it justified itself as being a so-called remake, and it's definitely among the best of Disney's more recent 2010 era project about remaking some of these Disney animated films. He's shown that he can skillfully manipulate huge budgets,
Mm-hmm.
big A-list stars, and also bring smaller characters to the fore and give them their own story. And yeah,
And everybody that's interested in this should definitely go back and watch the Thursday watch along. It's on our YouTube channel. Because Brendan talks a good deal about Favreau and his input and what he was doing, both in the episode we were watching. We were watching Mando season 1, episode 1. Talks about both of what they were doing and how it worked, and the things that he wanted to shoot and the way he wanted to shoot it worked in that, and more about what he was doing, as much as he could tell us about the movie and how that was working. So
yeah. And yeah, I've also, I think Kat also mentioned this here,
there is a war of googling
comments,
and going
a
in
little
the
bit back
chat.
and forth.
Is
Yeah, I
back
was
and
just
forth,
gonna.
and yeah, is I googled as well, and that is what the number is giving us.
Yeah,
For
that's from the
Mando and Grogu
California.
is that 166.
Yeah, California Film Commission, where it was shot, has actually revealed that information. So it's directly from the source, and it's reported in Collider as well, which is generally pretty good at sifting through and staying away from rumors and
Mhm.
looking at the original source of these things. So the overall production budget that's been released is $166.4 million, and the California state gave them a little tax credit of 21.75 million back. Sure, that doesn't take into account any marketing and distribution, but if you compare that to some of the other Star Wars films adjusted with inflation, back in 2005, George Lucas spent 113 million on Revenge of the Sith, and we're now 21 years on from that. So it's absolutely nowhere near the
It's just,
400s.
but it's still the whole levels are. It is still getting ridiculous, and there's the whole what you talk about in this and that, and like what is considered. They're going like so. If again we're saying that the 166.4 million is the production budget, and then you go to 416 for full budget, then they're stupid.
Yeah.
That's just all there is to it. If it costs 166 to do it and they throw another 300 million at it, then they're idiots. And even with giant marketing budgets, like what was the marketing budget for Indy? I think we were throwing around numbers of somewhere in the 80 million, $84 million marketing
Yeah.
budget on that, and we saw how well that went over.
Yeah. The total budget for that film ended up climbing to 250
So
million, which was really insane.
and it's a numbers game here too, and I think it's wrong that studios keep trying to do this, is put out break down the budget in such minutia. Is like, oh well, there's a production budget and there's a marketing budget and there's the CGI budget and then there's the craft services budget. No, it's like, look, just tell us how much it cost you. Is like, put out an official, like a real number, and don't nickel and dime this entire thing, and just go, and don't expect your movie to have to quadruple its budget to be a success.
Yeah.
You know, if people go to see the movie and people enjoy the movie, if you have created content that is enjoyed and lasts, that's a success. If it's going to be something that's going to hit Disney Plus, streaming, whatever, used to be the home video market, and people are going to watch again and again because it's a rewatchable movie. Rise of Skywalker is not a rewatchable movie, in my opinion. Okay.
You can fast forward through scenes.
I have seen it maybe 5 times, and 2 of those were in theaters. But it's not, if you're going to go and sit down and you've got a minute and you want to see and you want to enjoy, what Star Wars movie are you going to turn on, Gio?
Oh, wow. In the modern era, I'd actually say Rogue One. And that's partly because I have not seen it as many times, but I do love the film. So it still has this freshness and appeal to me. And it also, with the wider setting of Andor, I have an even more specific appreciation for what Diego Luna did in that film. But if we look at classic saga, the original 6, I'd probably say Revenge of the Sith, because I think it has more of an emotional impact, even though some of the acting and the dialogue is a little wooden. That works for me. What would you put on to get your Star Wars fix?
If I'm just like casually going to have Star Wars on in the background, or like if I just, if I'm not sitting down to pay attention to the movie for a rewatch and enjoyability, I'm putting on Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith. Because it's got just that fast paced, it's got immediately quotable, memeable, all the stuff going on. And you don't have to sit there and pay attention to all of everything. All of it is it's fun Star Wars. If I sit down and I've got other stuff to do and I turn on A New Hope or I turn on Empire, I just immediately did not get the other stuff done. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch. But I can occasionally do the same sort of thing with The Force Awakens. I could turn that on and then not pay attention to it. But Rise of Skywalker is not one that I will turn on to do that. And there are too many things about The Last Jedi that annoy the snot out of me that I'm going to be rage screaming at the television set to turn that on.
Even and now,
be enjoyable about it.
You know where it goes. Yeah. I'd add the entire sequel trilogy. I do not mean to dismiss all the incredible efforts by the cast and all the crew that were involved.
No, there are very good things about it, and there are good portions and parts of Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I would put the sequel trilogy as the kind of lazy, chill Sunday afternoon while you're doing your other chores, and it is in the background. I actually think what you said for The Force Awakens for me would apply for all of them, including The Rise of Skywalker. And I think it's one of those things that to me is kind of, I know this phrase is not necessarily the most positive for some people, but kind of like a theme park ride. It kind of swells and then dies down and then swells up again, and you can kind of pay attention to the bits that you enjoy more, the fun action sequences, which are filmed really well. And the sequel trilogy does look incredible. And they got the really nice blend of prosthetics and costume and makeup back for lots of the aliens and lots of the wardrobe of the characters, as well as getting the visuals with ILM and all the magic they do to really be a consistent, entertaining experience.
Okay, I have to stop the show right now. Dave Lewis, go watch Rogue One right now. I will even like turn off this show and go watch Rogue One right now.
Join us next time.
We want you here, but you need to watch that because Rogue One. And here's the thing about Rogue One: if you sit down and you watch Rogue One right now, you're gone for 4 hours because you are immediately going to want to turn on A New Hope. Okay, if New Hope is your favorite, that is like the best prequel known to whatever. I'm just
you got to strap in, lock in. turn, draw the curtains, turn the lights down, turn up your volume, use that soundbar or amp if you have it, and
Yes.
sit back.
So yeah. Is I highly recommend that you do that. Is some really good Star Wars. They really added a lot to the universe in that. And let's get back to Maul Shadow Lord, because speaking of which, I think they're adding to the universe. Right? We've got a whole new planet. We're seeing parts and portions of things that we haven't seen. Is the the police. We're
Yep.
seeing like the day to day, like really a lot of episode 1 felt like an episode of Law and Order. Okay. We're watching Star
A
Wars
crime
Law and Order.
procedural.
It was.
Yeah,
We haven't
a little
yet
bit.
seen yet seen the second part of a Law and Order episode, which is what happens once they get caught and go to the courts. And I don't think we're going to see that. I don't think it's going to happen
Yeah,
at all. But we've
probably not.
really seen it's a lot of police procedure. When you're not seeing Maul, you're seeing, okay, this is what the civilian population is doing. Is this is on a planet where the Empire isn't, and it's always calling the Empire, calling the Empire. Don't call in the Empire. We want to handle this and do this. So there is still that civilian government and civilian population, and this is what's going on, and this is what they're doing. And I don't
Yeah,
think it's a bad thing. It was just a very different thing. It was not what I was expecting.
it was a lot closer to the ground than I think most people were imagining the beginning would be. But it was just giving me the same feeling that I had in the early parts of Andor again,
Mm-hmm.
um, because you had the kind of procedural part of what would you do if there's a new crime, something going on in the background, and you have very few clues, and how do you build a case around it? And the kind of DEFCON 1 is call the Empire because they'll sort it out. But
Yeah.
there's still that overriding fear of getting anything Imperial entangled with the day job that you have. And I think it was. I also really like the fact that they have Wagner Moura as Lawson, which is a funny name for a cop anyway. Call him
Mm-hmm.
Lawson, but he does a great performance. He's very charismatic. I first came across him back with the Narcos series that Netflix
Okay.
kind of almost debuted with in Europe because it came around that sort of
So,
2016,
so
17
you're
time.
saying he is experienced with a procedural cop show?
Yeah, even though he was completely on the other side as the
Okay.
ultimate villain, he was Pablo Escobar actually.
Oh, I
I
haven't seen. Yeah, I haven't seen that. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's actually a really great character transformation. He inhabits the kind of bulky, slow Pablo Escobar guy in the chair who gets everyone the umbrella of the drug network going, and here he's completely the opposite. He's like a proactive, physically adept police agent. But he's still trying to deal with I think it was also. I feel this TV series is taking a lot of the good parts from Andor as well by giving
Yeah.
us the kind of side B story of, he's got a difficult family situation, a kind of teenage son that doesn't really
Mm-hmm.
think he's worth much, and a separation with his wife. He's dealing with real world problems, and it's just a little 30-second thing here or there,
Yeah,
but it
and
makes
it's
the
and it's
character
not they're beating us over
lifelike.
the head with it. They didn't cast like Christopher Maloney, you know.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't cast a known cop from a cop procedural or whatever to do that. But we get that a lot. But still the mall parts are the best. It's the most fun for me.
Hmm.
Is I mean, I really like look at this. You seeing
Yeah.
my malls coming down, and then
Mm.
you get your close ups here.
It's so atmospheric, and I think it's because a lot of the show is quiet, apart from the specific action moments, which are loud, proud, and will stay in your memory.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it's kind of a calmer, quieter show until Maul starts wrecking ball with his two Zabrak henchmen as well,
The
and the
only thing that
Mandalorians.
that kind of puts me out a little bit is I love, like, if you look at this, like how painterly Maul is, right? It literally looks like his tattoos or stuff are painted on, and you get the brush stroking and all of the things. And I like that. And then look at this as well, as you get all the jagged edges and the things and the smoke atmosphere. All of that when it's on Maul. But they go back to like basically standard Bad Batch style animation when they're doing the police and the procedural and the city scenes. Nobody. I was expecting from the trailers and from looking at all the thing about Maul, I was expecting this whole thing to look more like a Visions episode that had been like hand painted or something, or
Right.
or
Yeah.
CGI, computer generated, but to look like it was hand painted.
The brushstrokes and so on.
But it's they're only doing it for Maul. Yeah, exactly, Jeff. The painterly style of the animation, I love it. It was just very unexpected that Maul is so painterly and everything else is not as much. At least the characters. The backgrounds may be a little bit more or something like fudged and painterly, but the characters, like the Lawson character, definitely not. The robots, Two Boots does no.
All the droids could have been straight pulled out of live action. The lighting and the shadow and the shading of the characters now is so good. I'm really glad they've kept up that cinematic quality.
And the bank droid being a 3PO series droid. I could have expected that to be like Chris Bartlett is like, oh.
Yeah, they're really good at animating the kind of physicality and differentiating characters like that, as well as from the expressiveness of the vocal performance.
Well, this will be interesting, Dave. Dave's going, I get the feeling that Palpatine knows Maul's out there, but chooses not to take him out because he knows he's not going to amount to much. And that's a good question, and maybe we'll get an answer to, does he know he's out there in this series? But we've seen that he tried to take him out once already in the Clone Wars, and Maul is like looking for his revenge on him. So maybe they're going to meet up again in this series. But does Palpatine know he's out there at this point? I don't know, because you're seeing everything that they've emphasized in the first 2 episodes is just being, have you ever heard of the Shadow Collective? No, I don't know anything about this. And this is a police officer on what appears to be a large metropolitan planet. And they just haven't heard. The only one that's heard really of Maul, or only 2 really, are the crime lord that he lets go, the one that he kidnaps and he lives with. I can't think of his name at the moment. He's heard of him obviously because his syndicate had a deal with him, and the Jedi I assume Padawan, because she has the older master. The Jedi. Those are the only 2 that apparently have heard of him at this point.
Yeah, and again, it does kind of re-emphasize that all his goings on Mandalore and Clone Wars were just region locked to that area, and maybe Mandalore, with the way that society was portrayed as trying to be a reformist movement with more pacifism and less of the aggression of their past, wanted to contain that from like a media point of view, that they didn't want the whole galaxy to know.
We're seeing in this show that didn't all go back to it, to the pacifism or the leadership of Satine afterwards, because they're out there with Rookcast. They're out there using Mandalorian henchmen in addition to his Zabrak henchmen. It's a band of Mandos and Zabrak. They're using Mandalorian dropships.
Yeah. It's like they're putting all the coolest Clone Wars era action figures together
Mm-hmm.
around Darth Maul. So he's got a very visually um, distinctive crew around him. And that's why I think it ties in really nicely to the visuals that you just reshared. Because again, one thing I found a little bit unusual about seeing Maul in the Clone Wars a lot is that he was uncloaked, and so it's kind of taking away from the
Uh,
phantom-ish element of him, and to see him back in that sort of Sith Lord-esque look is really striking, and it makes it even more emphatic when he does then decloak and he's free to wield his lightsaber and do all the gymnastics in the
mhm.
corridor to make another cool corridor scene where he just completely destroys everybody and lifts
That's
somebody up with the force, and it
that's
just
that's
has
the
more
biggest
impact.
takeaway of the first two episodes is Maul gets his hallway scene
Yeah,
because everybody gets a hallway scene. Is you got to have well, like good or bad. Is Vader gets his hallway scene, Maul gets his hallway scene, Luke's had his hallway scene.
yeah, more hallway scenes with Maul because
Yeah.
he was incredible in the Siege of Mandalore, not having his lightsaber and managing to be an absolute terror in that sense to the clones. And now you have him back with his double-edged lightsaber that we've not consistently seen chronologically since the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Obviously, a bit later we see him in Rebels back with the two-edged,
Mm.
the double-bladed lightsaber or lightsaber staff, as some people like to describe it. But it's it was just really impactful. I think the fact that the little prologue had his minions do the work and then he stepped forward was perfect. And the reuse of the little Duel of the Fates motif and the choral aspect coming in, I think the music is phenomenal this time as well. I feel as if every Star Wars Lucasfilm animation project has even more of a cinematic kind of symphonic score, and it really does add to that feel that you're back in the galaxy, and it fits the
Oh,
character
when
so
they
well.
opened the first music that you hear is the remakes of Duel of the Fates.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think for any big Star Wars fan, it definitely sends the chills up your spine, and it kind of gets you in the frame of mind to experience the new Maul, who's got some of the best of the old stuff that we've seen on the big screen, and then also is a scheming manipulator of people, which is pretty much how he would have grown up, being
Yeah.
around Sidious or Palpatine. So
Yeah.
I found it really difficult, not really difficult, but a little too much of a juxtaposition when they first brought Maul back. Once Mother Talzin restored his memory, I thought he was far too chatty. He was very verbose. He always
Well, he
seemed,
became he became for a while there. He became the classic, villain. Is he had to
yeah,
get like he and it was like even like almost cheesy movie like Austin Powers villain type thing. Is I have to now. I have you now, but I have to explain my entire plot and plan.
yeah. There was a great line that he does use where he kind of just Dave Filoni got him to justify why he didn't kill Obi-Wan immediately when he could have in that kind of cargo bay of the ship that him and
Mhm.
Savage were in, which is that I want you to feel every single cut and graze um, before you die, so that you get to experience the trauma and the torture that I have endured. Um, but yeah, he does do that kind of villain monologuing that is,
He
but
does.
it kind of fitted the Clone Wars well at that point, and it just took a lot of getting used to for me. And then to
Because
have
that
more,
middle of the Clone Wars had an arc, and
yeah,
visit our friends tomorrow on Monday on Clone Wars Revisited, where I believe they are doing season 4, episode 1. Um, and it is one of those kind of sillier ones, right? That it had in the middle. I'm trying to Google the title right off.
I'm trying to remember it.
I think it's the
It's not
one.
coming.
No, not E10. I want Clone Wars E1. Yeah, it's Water War. It's the one where like let's see the Jedi and the lightsabers and everybody underwater and doing the thing. It's you know
Right.
um
Yeah, it was quite
so
fantastical in its way. But I think that that arc came about because of the really iconic moment where you see Kit Fisto be a
Mhm.
superhero Aquaman in the Clone Wars micro
In the
series,
Migra
the
series.
Samurai Jack style one. Yeah, and I think Dave Filoni probably thought, okay, it was cool aesthetically. Let's put CG animation over it and build a bit of story here.
Yeah. It's so I mean, definitely is see some of that, and it fit in that middle series because we started out kind of shaky and they started out doing a lot of exposition, and that season one thing. Season 2 and 3 were really kind of season 2, season 3 they got a little fun and a little serious. And season 4, and then you wrap it up with the really super serious dark meaning stuff in season 7 there. So yeah, Dave, it was announced right before Maul premiered that it was cleared for a season 2. What we are getting is not season 2. This is all these 10 episodes. I think these are season 1. So I would assume we are getting at least 10 more. So it will be interesting to see where this season carries us to see what kind of thing that we'll build more on in the next season. We've already speculated it's at least some, and they've mentioned Crimson Dawn already in this. Will we get to see like an animated Kira? You see animated Kira, that brings you to the possibility of animated Han. So I don't think they will go there. I think that's too much.
Yeah,
But
like to keep Maul a little bit separate.
yeah.
And he's enough of a presence, I think, to keep you invested. Darth Maul now, I mean, I still say Darth Maul out of reflex Maul. He is
Yeah.
still he's a villain, but he's also an anti-hero because we've kind of seen his torturous journey through what happens to him eventually. And so knowing that how his fate will come about in Rebels, I think
Spoilers.
season 3, Twin Sons of Rebels, you got to see it.
Go watch that.
Yeah, or I mean, Twilight of the Apprentice, the end of season 2 of Rebels, I think was
Mm,
up there with some of the best the Clone Wars moments and some of the best actually extracurricular Star Wars, the
yeah.
Star Wars that's not in the films. Um, but maybe we will see how he gets to be the kind of old man Maul a little bit later. How he seems to gain stuff and then lose stuff quite quickly. He is like 2 steps up and 3 steps back, and I think that kind of Sisyphus type mythological struggle is part of his character, and I think we'll see that happen. But for now, I want Maul to feel superpowered because it just looks great, and it's good to see him be a wrecking ball and disrupt the current crime networks that are going on, and maybe have a bit more of an impact than just on the one planet that we've currently seen, which I'm
Mm.
so glad is not a desert planet or not somewhere
Well,
really
yeah,
rural or
I
remote.
think it is nice. I think it could have been clear from the beginning that it was not Coruscant,
Yeah.
because that's what you were kind of thinking when you see it. But upon looking at it a second glance, as you're like, well, that kind of was obvious. It looks more like Space Japan.
Yeah.
It's a far more 20th century Earth realistic city almost to start with, until you get crazy buildings like the prison jail with the fantastical helix kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was Coruscant to start out with too. Dave is just a big
And
giant
me.
city, but unlike Coruscant, you'll notice there's not as much flying car traffic. I mean, it happens, but it's not like they're all over there like you see in uh, scenes of Coruscant, like you even see in the city in The Fifth Element. They've dialed
Yeah.
that back to kind of like they're flying vehicles and stuff, but they're not everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a little more sedate than Coruscant, but still a very teeming, busy city, which is good to see because it looks great in animation. And those
mhm.
the shots they have, the kind of tracking shots of above the city, slowly moving the camera forward, are fantastic as well. They're very atmospheric and
Well,
kind
and you
of
go down and
add
you
to that
see more. It's kind of a
foreboding.
connection thing between Solo, and the movies. Is you see the highways,
Yeah.
the speeders in Solo are actually operating on roadways.
Hmm.
Is you get that as well. I think it's really interesting how the vehicles transition between flying through the sky and then busting into the highways. It's like,
Yeah, that physics is a little bit wild, but it does feel like you got those classic car chase moments,
uh-huh.
which Solo was really good at starting out, and it's good to see that visual continuation kept here. I'm trying to think of the name of the city planet that Obi-Wan visits in the Obi-Wan series, because it did feel a little bit like that, because that felt like a lot much more low-key Coruscant without being Coruscant. Obviously, there's going to be millions of cities across the planets in the galaxy,
Right.
which
And
could
like
probably
cities
have
here on Earth, they'll have similarities and they'll differences. Let's see. Dayu, an
Daiyu.
edgy,
Okay.
neon lit, and gritty urban world. Often
Yeah.
compared to a mix of Hong Kong and Bangkok.
I see.
Dayu or Dayu City.
Right. I wonder if it'll turn out to be that place. Although I'm always more for extra planets and different locations. But it did remind me of the visual look that you had in with that planet of Daiyu, where Obi-Wan was led.
So there is a name for it, whether they've told us this or not, because I don't remember it hearing it. But part of my is called Janix.
Okay.
City planet featured in Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord is called Janix. It's a new neon lit noir style world, heavily
Yes, we
inspired
like that.
by Gotham City.
Okay.
There you
Interesting.
go.
Okay. So as Lawson a kind of Commissioner Gordon here? Um, I don't
It,
think he'll be
it,
lighting the Maul signal.
wait, I mean, you're not wrong. Is this does thinking about it and talking about procedural cop shows? This does kind of remind you about the series. Oh, why did it escape? It flew right out of Gotham.
Yeah, I guess
It's
I
where
didn't see too much of that.
it's a lot focused on Gordon.
Yeah. I like the focus they've had on Lawson so far. He seems like an interesting character. And as again I said, I think he's really well performed by Wagner Moura, who interestingly is coming off the Academy Award season because he was in the Brazilian film The Secret Agent, and he was up for Best Actor.
Mm.
So Star Wars is, well, Lucasfilm or Disney are good at kind of catching people as they kind of have the apex of their career. But it wasn't distracting. It was just felt, I think it felt cool to hear the kind of Brazilian Latino voice of a new character.
Mm.
Um, and it also kind of looks like the actor, which animation's always done a little bit.
Well, yeah, you
When
can
you
do
see,
that.
yeah. Um, but maybe they're gonna tie Maul into being more of an anti-hero, and maybe this Lawson police character could use Maul or think he could work with Maul to get rid of the other crime families he's trying to get rid of, and then ultimately be betrayed by Maul. That's one direction it could go. Um, and that's
Yeah,
only coming to mind now that we're doing the
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 analyzing what could.
yeah, and the kind of comparison with Gotham, the mention of it specifically with the planet Janix, and then also the Commissioner Gordon type vibe that he also
I
kind of
don't
gives.
know that I completely agree that we'll see that, but
Yeah, I'm just thinking it could be a one take on Maul, um, because I think having him as the focus of this series, I can't imagine he's gonna be 100% evil villain. And I think the fact that he's desperate for an apprentice shows that he at least wants a kind of community around him. He's not a lone wolf, and he acknowledges that to survive, he can't do that anymore. He can lead, but he
Yeah,
can't.
still not totally feeling that and buying that one. I think we're just getting more Maul because Star Wars Star Wars is all about the villains being the most popular characters. You know
Yeah, but
that
they don't
it.
tend to give us much of the villain, which is why I think they might go a
Well, it
little
might be
sideways.
why, but I mean,
But I,
where the minute 30 of Boba Fett that we originally got gets us back to the whole thing.
yeah, hopefully they've
Minute
learned.
30 we got of Boba Fett is really what gives us the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
Um, and then we get Vader, arguably the one of the most popular characters in all of cinema.
yeah, that's
Like
very
not most popular
easily to say.
villains, most popular characters in all of cinema is arguably. I mean, I'm saying maybe not one, but I'm betting top 10.
I think comfortably that's got to be up there. Yeah, Vader as one of the most popular
And so
characters in
that's
all of fiction, even
yeah,
not just on film. But I think it's because Star Wars has had such a cultural impact, and everybody kind of knows Darth Vader, even if you haven't seen the original trilogy. It's constantly a kind of Western cultural, pop culture touchstone for lots of people.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to like we get 2 more episodes tonight, tomorrow morning. That what depending upon your zone and things in place. Um, I think it'll be interesting to see where they go and where this goes, and presumably that they've announced this early that there will be a season 2. Where it ends up and what they're doing with this season, that it can go to a season 2, because I assumed this was like a one-off kind of deal.
Yeah, it did feel like it would be just a single mini-series, limited series.
Yeah.
But maybe they're gonna draw from some of the elements that it was rumored and then kind of confirmed, I think, many years ago, that George Lucas's idea for a sequel trilogy would be Darth Maul to come back and be a crime lord. And then he plucked the character of Darth Talon from the legacy era of Star Wars expanded universe novels, who happened to be a Twi'lek female, which you kind of see it's set
Yeah.
up here to acquire.
Well, and I mean, of course, it could be they could be giving us some of what they would be planned on giving us if a Solo 2, because
Yeah,
that is, of course, the last major scene or the big surprise ending of Solo is seeing Maul talking about completing Kira's training.
yeah.
So
He's always after an apprentice,
he
so
is.
it's very still Sith-minded in that sense.
Yeah. Well, but thanks everybody for watching today, for coming out and being out there in the comments. Kat, thanks for hopping on as you
Yeah,
could and helping us out with some facts and figures, which is what we just tend to kind of make up. So
slash look up.
yeah, is exactly. Maybe we'll get Kira and Crimson Dawn in season 2 of Maul Shadow Lord. Maybe we'll get him in this season. We don't know yet. Is they've mentioned it. He's gone after 2 of the syndicates that he was talking about. Maybe he's going to go after Dawn, and Kira will be leading there. But we'll see. And I'm sure that when we're back at our later this month at the fourth Sunday, that we will have some more to say, because we'll have more episodes of Maul Shadow Lord under our belt, or maybe something else will come up and we'll have a topic that's completely out of left field. But until then, thanks so much everybody for watching, and of course,
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
may the fourth Fourth, see, that's on my mind because that's coming up.
It's pretty close, yeah.
May the fourth be with you. No, may the force be with you.
Yeah, thanks everybody. May the force be with you all.